It's Kristen Smedley, the mom, the human behind this huge, thriving blind community, and I'm so proud and grateful and blessed to be able to say huge, thriving blind community. And if you're new here or you're just seeing this video and have not heard of the Thriving Blind community, go check us out here on Facebook, because it's a group that you're going to want to follow. And this story, I just had to come on. It is a rainy, crappy day here in the Philly area, and I don't care. Usually I am so gloomy with the weather, and I cannot stop smiling because I just got off the phone with my oldest son, Michael, who's at Penn State main campus, loving life right now. And I'm going to get to that why, but I want to tell you a little bit about the journey to get to the impact on his life of Penn State football and his impact on Penn State football, and why I can't stop smiling. I'm going to warn you that the story does not start out with a big smile, and I'm going to skip through it quickly so that you can appreciate why I'm smiling now, but it puts a lot of it in perspective of why would a mom, like really big deal with everything going on in the world right now, why I'm smiling so much over Penn State football. Trust me, you're going to want to know. If you don't have time to watch it now, that's fine. Sit down when you do have time, because it's something that I think is important for people to know, especially at this point in time with what's happening in our country and around the world. So to back up 20 years, almost 21 years now, Michael is my firstborn, and I had dreamt my whole life to be a mom, and I was an athlete my whole life. So when I was carrying him, as so many of you moms out there that have carried a baby, you know that as your belly's growing, your dreams are growing for that little person, right? And being an athlete, like I said, I was like, hey, is this kid gonna be, football, baseball? I'm a Philly girl, right? Eagles, Phillies. And I have this thing with football. I just love it. And I was a tomboy. I don't know if you're allowed to say tomboy anymore, if that offends anybody. So sorry. But that I was, I played football with the guys in the neighborhood, when I was growing up. So it's just been a thing for me. I just am kind of obsessed with it. And when Michael was born, I'm like, gosh, I wonder if he's gonna be the quarterback, right? Or catch the touchdowns, what's he gonna do? So anyway, I had all these hopes and dreams. I would dress them in the Eagle stuff, and there were family members that are Penn Staters, and we'd have Penn State stuff on the little onesies and everything, and all these dreams. And then, if you know my story, and if you don't know I'll just skip over it real quickly. I'll just go through it quickly, but you can check out my TED Talk as well. But at 4 months old, a doctor said to me, "Your son is blind." And at that moment, I can smile now, but because of the journey and where we've gone. But at that moment, all of those hopes and dreams, not just football, not just sports, but everything, school, valedictorian, college, marriage, all of that went dark for me, because here's the thing, my Michael, my 4-month-old baby, was the first blind person I had ever met in my life. So I had no point of reference, no role model, nothing to know what was possible for him. So fast forward a few years, and it was Michael, and you'll see in my TED Talk that at 3.5 years old, changed my entire perception of my journey. So I stopped crying on my couch, started getting him. He was the happiest little kid on the planet, and nothing bothered him. Especially blindness did not bother him. He was figuring out every single thing he wanted to do. He figured out with no worries, no upsetment, nothing. He just figured it out. And as he got a little older, every year there's a little more involved, right? Figuring out school, figuring out friends, figuring out. And I learned to take my hopes and dreams off of my son. Thank God I learned that very early on, and let him follow his dreams, because honestly, I didn't know what was possible for him. I didn't know what he was going to do. So I'm like, well, my mantra became get him what he needs and then follow his lead, right? So I did. I found Braille, I found the white cane, and I say that, very casually right now. It was very hard milestones for me to to handle, but it is what it is. They were the tools that he needed, and he has soared because of those tools. But as the years went on, he he actually had the opportunity here in our town of Bucks County, just outside Philly, to play football. I mean, he could only play center because of his limited vision. And he had a ball. He got to be on a team, you know, and I thought that that dream of mine was gone. So it was really cool to you know, have his football gear, and I had the jersey too with his name on the back. You know, hey, I can nerd out like a mom, like you can't even imagine. But anyway, I'm in all my Penn State stuff now. But anyway, so he got to play, and he played all the way through middle school, and then you know, and then there were some, you know, things that he had to pull back from, and social things. As you're a blind middle schooler, it's a little tough, and he could only play center on the football team. He couldn't go and do the other things, but he was always bouncing back. And honestly, as a lot of the other stuff fell off because of his vision, he discovered music, and he has an incredible passion and talent for music, and he pursued that as he wasn't able to play football anymore, because he also has a size challenge. You know, you can't be the center anymore. He said to me, Mom, when he went to high school, he goes, you can't be on the O line when you're my size. He goes, I will die. It doesn't even matter if I can see or not. I'll get crushed. So that was a crushing dream for him. He couldn't play in high school. He had to hang up his cleats in middle school, but he got to turn to music and sound engineering and design, and worked with the theater programs, and was the sound guy. And then he was our town's piano man. You know, like Michael always finds, my friend David Fagenbaum, that probably everybody knows from his best-selling book this year, Chasing My Cure, that cured his own rare disease. He's been on CNN and all that. He always says, if you can't find a silver lining, create it. And Michael has created his silver linings always. I mean, he was in his band, his music led him to create a band here in our town that was a classic rock band, and they were very well known, you know, and funded everything he wanted to do. He made a living like that until he went off to college. And then he went to Belmont in Nashville to pursue sound design, and his dream of getting involved with bands and venues and eventually record labels, right? But I remember when he called me when he was at Belmont, and he said, I'm having the time of my life. I mean, I'm in Nashville. I'm meeting every person in the music industry. This is phenomenal. But he said, they don't have a football team here, and I miss football. And he forgot to take a look at that, you know, what your life is like on college campuses, in addition to being at the number one place for your major, right? So he said, I think I need to go to Penn State, because he knew he had gone to a football game there, and I went with him, and we were like, this is like nothing I've ever seen, you know. And his passion and love for football, and the entire thing that a school like Penn State gives a kid that just loves to be immersed in a campus. So he made the move and went to Penn State for his sophomore year last year. So then, long story short, he's having the time of his life up there, goes to a bunch of football games, and he called me. And now he in the meantime records an album and releases it in Nashville. He's like living the dream in so many areas. But he called me, and he said, Mom, I love going to these games. I'm having the time of my life, but man, do I miss being on that field. I miss being part of a football team. And I'm like, well, you know, he's like, maybe I can be a walk-on long snapper, and maybe this and maybe that. And he's trying to figure out how to make that dream still happen. And nothing was aligning that was going to make any sense, that he was going to have any success for it. And, you know, as a parent, listening to your kid get frustrated and there's no solution that I could come up with, and I had to sit and let him work through that. And I could ask him questions and point some stuff out, like, is this really going to work? So anyway, in true Michael fashion, eventually he called me and he said, I want to get involved with managing the Penn State football team, because at least I can be part of their wins. You know, I can't wear the equipment and can't be out there with it on the field, but I can certainly make sure everything's there, and I can make sure the guys that are going to get us the win have their stuff. So we interviewed for the management of the football team. And I'm going through, like, who's in my network that I know that can support him and get him in touch with. And there were people in my town. One of my best friends on the planet was helping, like all these people. And then, you know, still another door shut on his football dream. It didn't come to fruition. And then a little thing like COVID hits, and nothing was happening. It was like, that dream just wasn't, he just didn't seem like he was going to get back on that football field. Right. And then he's home for the summer, as a lot of you that have college kids experienced, and in the dumps, because he can't get back to campus, and he wasn't hearing from the football program, and dream after dream after dream was crushed again for this poor kid that's always having, I should say poor kid, but this kid that is constantly having to be resilient, bounce back, create his silver linings. So, in true Michael fashion, again, over the summer, he develops a podcast with his best friend from Penn State on politics, of all things, and does that for a couple months, goes back to Penn State just 2 months ago, and then gets offered a radio show up there. He's on Penn State radio because of his podcast. And I'm like, man, you really know how to like turn things around. But he still has this football thing. And he's like, Mom, now football's not even back. Like we can't even go and at least experience, in the crowd and have football. Like it was driving him crazy. And I'm like, COVID sucks, right? Everything just sucks. It all sucks. COVID's ruining everything. This kid can't even just get in the stadium and cheer with all of his friends and have the greatest Saturday, So then he calls me and he says, Mom, guess what? So I can't reveal every single thing, but a few things just came out. But tomorrow for is the Ohio State Penn State whiteout game, right? My son, who I thought my football dreams for him were crushed. His football dreams were crushed. Well, he's been working all week. I can't stop smiling in that stadium for the game tomorrow with the sound engineering students, professors, these mega companies that he's wanted to be a part of, all on. And the Sports Illustrated article came out, so I can mention a couple of the things. They recorded the blue band so that you can hear that playing when we watch the game from home tomorrow. They recorded a couple of fun things and some other stuff that Sports Illustrated didn't fully reveal. But here's the thing. Michael was in that stadium that he dreamt of being in, right? All week long, doing something that God did give him the gift for. He does have he is the most incredible sound design engineer, executor. I forget all the words for it in his, what he does, and he gives all of himself to it. So he's absolutely phenomenal with this talent. Is it throwing the touchdown? No. Catching the touchdown? No. But he's a part of that football experience this week. He set this whole thing up. He was a part of that whole thing, and I hope that he gets in there. I hope that there's enough space with all the COVID requirements to get him in there tomorrow, but it almost doesn't even matter. That I just got off the phone with him, and listening to the joy in his voice that he was a part of putting this brand new, no one's ever heard of or would think of having to do with sound guys working with the football team, to have this extraordinary football experience tomorrow, because everything we've known about football and watching it and experiencing it as fans has been taken away by this stupid pandemic, right? But they create this silver lining that they don't even know what it's done for my kid that has been obsessed with football and thought that every single dream was taken away from him. And because of the talent that he developed when he couldn't do the things that he wanted to do, and went and created that other silver lining for this whole new facet of his life that he was destined to the path he was destined to be on. I mean, it's all culminating now in this experience that he's had this week. And here's the coolest thing, when I think back to all of us that look at our little teeny tiny babies and put them in those onesies of like, the future Carly Lloyd, or, future Penn State Nittany Lion running back, whatever it is that we dream, and then they grow up dreaming. There's my Michael. He says to me, Mom, there I am. And ESPN is there, and Sports Illustrated, and I'm in the booth, the announcers booth, and I'm working with all these companies and with the football team. And I, it just goes to show you that if you keep, for all the years that I was looking at that closed door on all of my dreams for my son, I was staring and beating on the closed door, right? And I was missing all these other doors and windows and the roof that were open and waiting for me to drop my son off in there for all of his purpose and all of the bigger things that were bigger than football. And I say bigger than football for my son. And those the guys that are on the team, that's the dream that they've been able to bring to fruition, right? And their purpose. And this is my son's purpose. It's just really cool when you stop, and it's hard. God, it's so freaking hard. And it's hard now with everything that keeps getting shut down and that might get shut down again, just when we're back in the world, and trying to look at it as, okay, that door closed. I did everything I could to keep that door open, but it slammed shut anyway. What am I supposed to be looking for? And I swear to you, I don't know if Michael was born that way or if he learned that at some point very early on, but he'll beat on that closed door for a few minutes, but it's way shorter than I do. And he's always looking for another door that opens to take him to a more incredible place. It's harder as he's going to be 21 soon, and the doors, those dreams get big, right? And you plan and you plan and you work, and then that slams shut. And it's harder now for him to just spin around and have that happy-go-lucky attitude. But I've watched him. I've watched him for a couple of years now, sit and think about that door that's shut and go through his mind all the things that he wished didn't get shut down. And then I watch him, that little mind working on, but what else am I supposed to be looking for? And then that's how I know that my son gets back up. He's been resilient since he was little. He figures things out, and it's always a door that takes him to something bigger, brighter, better, more brilliant than the one that he had planned so hard for. So, I'm sitting here and it's amazing. I keep looking at the Sports Illustrated thing online because it references this one little line about the sound design students worked with the athletic program to bring this incredible experience that they're not even revealing every single thing for the football game tomorrow. And I'm like, I know it doesn't say Michael's name, and I don't care. I don't care because I know that's him and his buddies that he's meeting. Just they're a team. They're a team putting this experience together for their school, for their football team, and he's having a heck of a good time with the whole thing. So my point in all this is football is amazing. No, I'm kidding. My point in all of this is, everyone's talking about resilience, you guys. Everyone, the whole world is talking about resilience. And I actually run a show and a Facebook community and a book coming out and a gajillion programs. And my partner and I are working with companies and schools and all about resilience, but we don't just talk about resilience. It's about what's next. There's more to resilience than the resilience itself. That's only half the formula. The other half of the formula is what I just explained that I've watched my son do for his entire life. And I have, I've had to do more than once with trying this formula out with all the stupid sucker punches that come at me. But it's what are your gifts and talents? What's your brilliance that gets uncovered when you sit after a life sucker punch, like your kid can't play football, then he can play, but then he can't play anymore because of blindness and his size. Then this whole journey that I just talked about, and then still can't get involved in the program, but then uses his gifts, his talents. How can he get involved in that program? And now to hear him on cloud nine. So what gifts, talents, all of those kinds of things, and interest and purpose that you uncover your brilliance and share that with the world. So when you're, resilient, you get back up. Great. That's magnificent. But when you uncover your brilliance and share that after everything you've learned and being resilient, it's absolutely extraordinary. And that is where you see the world changing and incredible things happening, inventions, innovation, problems solved on massive levels. So I hope everybody tunes in to watch the Penn State Ohio State game. And too bad, Ohio State. I want the whole country cheering for Penn State football. for the sound guys that put together what we're all gonna experience tomorrow, for all the people that made it happen, and honestly, for the news media that covered all of this and that sent these stories out and that's going to be talking about it tomorrow, about how, we've all been talking about our college kids got hit so hard. They're not able, a lot of them were graduates last year, never got a graduation, never got to do freshman year the way that we all did freshman year, right? But our college kids, like everybody else, everyone has the opportunity to be brilliantly resilient if we just back up for a second and let them figure it out and point out what their gifts or talents are, help them uncover their resilience and their brilliance instead of just sitting and bitching with them, because you're going to sit and bitch, you're going to sit and broken. But if you work at being brilliantly resilient, you're going to move from broken to brilliant. And then and remember the story of my Michael and football, and enjoy that game tomorrow. Tune in. It's at 7:30 Philly time. I have a few things I'm brilliant with. Time zones, I'm not your girl. I'm not your girl. You have to go look it up, and TV channels and all that. I wait for Michael to text me and say, "All right, mom, tune in. Here we go." So we are brilliant. That's what it should be this weekend. We are brilliantly resilient. But thank you to everybody that was involved in this fun thing for football, and I hope that the team enjoys the game. I know it's weird to not have everybody in there as an actual whiteout, but find the silver lining, create that silver lining tomorrow. So thanks everybody. Go Penn State.